we too often equate purpose with job and career.
Mm-hmm.
And which makes sense. 70% of us are generators. We're here to work and
Mm-hmm.
build. And so it does feel like our purpose
Mm-hmm.
is closely aligned with what it is we output, what it is we do. And
Mm-hmm.
there is a lot of validity to that because it is a way of contributing, right? Is what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we've lost touch with our bigger purpose because we are so busy working all the time. Human design reveals who you are energetically and who you came here to be. I'm Dana, human design specialist.
And I'm Haley, the human design newbie. Listen in as we explore how leaning into your authentic self is your ultimate path to success. Welcome to the Human Design Hive podcast. Let's get into it.
Well, hello there, Haley. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you again, have you back. And wow, we're gonna have to just, you know, shout it out loud. I'll try not to shout, not to get in everybody's ears, but this is a momentous episode because this is our 100th episode. Yay, us.
Oh my gosh. It's even more impressive that it's
Yes.
our 100th episode. And the day that
Hmm.
we're recording it is
Hmm.
the 2-year anniversary of the podcast.
I know. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I knew it was 100 episodes. I've been planning it,
Mhm.
but then, and I knew it was coming up in March. And then I went and looked today and I was like, holy shit, it's today. Today's our, I don't know if we should call it a birthday or anniversary. I guess a birthday because it was
Birth
born.
anniversary?
Birth. It's funny. I don't even know. We use the word anniversary, but I wonder. I mean, it's annual. That's some kind of derivative of yearly. But I wonder what the versary is. Anybody
I don't
knows?
know.
Any wordsmiths out there? You make sure to hit us up. Let us know where the root of anniversary is. Obviously, it happens
Language
once a
is
year.
crazy.
Oh, I know. It surely is. But yes, so this is a big deal because it takes a lot to put a
Hmm.
podcast out nearly every week. Obviously, 2 years, if we had one every single week, it would have been 104 episodes. But
Hey, but
there's, we had a,
2 weeks, 2 years, only missing 4 weeks total. Like, it's pretty good.
yeah, well, yeah, I think I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah.
I'm
And
pretty happy with it.
most podcasts, they don't make it to this milestone. So here we are.
I mean, here we are. You got married, you moved a couple times, you changed your name. You were
A
in a
lot happened.
snowstorm yesterday, so it's
Yes.
I have to
Yeah.
laugh that, I don't think you heard me when you were showing me your snow pictures of Bailey that, it's blanketed snow everywhere. You said you got like how
Mhm.
how much snow?
I I think like at least like up to a foot of snow.
Oh my God. And I said, well, it kind of looks like that around here, except for it's pollen. It is pollen season in South Carolina. It's yellow
I don't miss
everywhere.
that.
But it's wonderful because today it rained just enough. I had to go to the
Ah.
store in my car and I was like, oh my God, my gray car is yellow. And then it started raining. I was like, yes, wash it off so I don't have to go do that. Because it gets to the point where you're like, why even bother
Mm-hmm.
other than you don't want to like ruin your car with keeping the pollen on there too long because it lasts. What do you think? It lasts 2 weeks or so, maybe 3.
I
I don't
swear
know.
sometimes it feels like it's a month.
Yeah, it's an anniversary we could do without the pollen, the pollening they
Yeah,
call it
but
around here.
that means that it's spring.
It is
So
spring. It
it's
is
an
springing.
upshot.
It's been beautiful. It is
Spring is
springing
sprung.
everywhere. My tree is budding all over the place out there in the
Mm.
front yard. It's wonderful. I love it. It's been beautiful days, and we have longer days now, so it's coming. But anyways, so back to the this episode, the 2-year anniversary,
Hmm.
got me thinking a lot about this is a momentous occasion and what was the purpose really of sharing or starting this podcast in the first
Mhm.
place, was, well, first and foremost, we were looking for a way to get together and talk about something, right?
Yeah.
We've always
Pretty
had
much.
it in our bones that we wanted to do something like this, and we never really got anything off the ground. And it's funny, you tried launching, well, you did launch one or two, one, one podcast, one,
One
two,
podcast, two businesses,
yeah, podcast with
ventures.
Presley, but didn't go very far. But that's okay because you were here now. But really, I just wanted to once. Was it your idea maybe or my? I don't remember which one of our idea was to do it about human design. And because we
I
would
think it
talk
was
about it.
yours, but then I gave you the sacral response. I gave
Yeah.
you something to respond to.
Well, no, look, yes, it's both because I had been wanting to do a podcast about
Hmm.
human design, but I was in that, mode of like maybe someday or waiting for something. And you're right. It was when you said you could be involved. It was like, oh,
Hmm.
yes, you're right. That's the sacral response of like, yes, let's do that. So, and then it quickly unfolded after that. And so it's been fun. And we started it for sure as I don't want to say teaching podcast, but that's our format,
Knowledge sharing.
Yeah. And you've learned quite a bit, I
Hmm.
think, over the two
Hmm.
years that it's not so foreign now if we have
Hmm.
conversations off mic and we talk human design. We're like, oh yeah,
Hmm. Oh yeah.
and it's been a lot of fun, but I'm also feeling the kind of the not really a pull, but sort of a pull of like, well, where do we go from here? Because we've covered a lot of basics and there's so much to learn. And so we've been talking about it, and I've been contemplating, why it is we want to share this information, because
Hmm.
there's a lot of information to share, but why I feel so compelled. And that has me look back at, the conversations we've had, but also the feedback I've gotten from people from the podcast, but also people who've booked readings, things like that, what it is they are usually interested in knowing
Hmm.
through the lens of human design. And they may all come at it differently, and it may appear to have different questions, but it all boils down to the same thing, which is people are looking for direction and guidance on what they should be doing, what their purpose is.
Hmm.
There has been a couple that were a little bit younger. A lot of them, everybody's been women pretty much, and they are feeling that pull of there should be more, or I should be doing more, or maybe I'm in the wrong spot, or they have something in their heart that's pulling them forward and they want to know what their purpose is, but really they're trying to figure themselves out that might help them get there, right? Which of course
Hmm.
I believe human design is great for that. And so I've just been contemplating that for a while now, as far as how to, not how to, but yeah, why we're sharing this information is to
Hmm.
help people understand themselves, gain clarity about who they are and what they're here to not do in the sense of like a job, but what they bring to the table, I guess, right? Because
Hmm.
most people, I would say, they have no clue to what their purpose is, but that's harsh. It's not that they don't have a clue. It's like it's often just right under your nose. It's right there, because
Yeah.
you're made for it. And so that goes back to like last week's episode. I was thinking
Hmm.
about that a lot, that we did with the different charts,
Right.
right?
For the
That
March
all had the
6th
same
people.
birthday. Yeah, well,
Yes.
March 6th
Hmm.
people. And that's a big part of it, is that all the key pieces of a design are there. I don't want to say key, all the elements of a design are there. The things we talk about all the time: type, profile, strategy, incarnation
Hmm.
cross, all the planetary things. But how different the people were, from each other and from you,
Hmm.
But if you look at it, well, they were different types, they were different profiles, they were lived at different times or different ages. It's like we can have all these components. It's just a mechanic. It's just a system. It just shows us something,
Hmm.
right? But what we do with it is what's important and what makes it come to life, really, I think.
Right.
So
Wait to
talk.
see. Oh,
Jump in
yeah.
anytime.
I mean, well, like the human design, it's like we said it before, it's the print, and then it's how you take that and make it like special to you, like
Hmm.
specific to you, is kind
Hmm.
of the flavor you bring to it. That's
Yeah,
how I
and
think of it.
it is mind-boggling to think of all the different variations of something that, you know, because not only the day you were born, but the year, the location, all those things. But then we add on, like, well, you've got the Incarnation Cross, but there's so many variations of a cross. And there's, when I was, I think, we've talked about it a lot with your dad, not knowing his exact birth time. I have,
Hmm.
through these past 2 years, I keep looking back to it. And I, by looking at, well, his profile would change throughout the day, his cross would
Hmm.
change, but and did I just say profile? I did. Did I? His profile would be different.
Yeah, you said his profile and his cross would change, is what you said.
Yeah. Yeah, his type wouldn't change. He's a manifesting generator no matter what. And it's funny because I would keep looking at it and trying to decipher it because I did not want to go get a money order for $10 to send to the city that he was born, the town he was born in. I would have to send a money order to get a copy of like actual birth record, which might not even have the time on it for all I know. So
Yeah.
my point being, something as small, nuanced in his chart as his moon expression, his planetary placement there is really what has helped me kind of narrow down what I think his birth time is based on, the moon is, the expression, your emotions, what motivates you, that kind of thing. Because, you
Hmm.
know, that changed. I think it went through two gates, I think, on his birthday. And so it was like, I don't know. It is an interesting roadmap for sure to look at and understand that here it is, and it can help you find out these things about you. But it really is just a map, a blueprint, a compass, whatever you want to call it, that helps point the way
Hmm.
and giving you those tools to help figure these things out about yourself. And I think most often give yourself permission to be these things, these aspects of yourself that you really deep down resonate with, but you've been too
Hmm.
scared to lean
Yeah, I
into.
mean, that's like the biggest thing that so far I've taken
Mm-hmm.
from our discussions on human design.
Mm-hmm.
Because like being a
For your,
projector, I
mm-hmm.
always thought, oh, I'm just lazy. Like just
I can't
lazy, or I'm
believe you
always
would think,
tired.
yeah, I can't believe you would think you're lazy. Says the projector who's now, when I texted her the other day, she's like, I'm going out for a run. I'll get back to you when I'm done. I'm like, a run? I didn't know you ever ran.
It's very new.
Presley's the one that run. I mean, we talked about him running. We're like, see ya, bye. But not only are you a projector, you're a 6'2". And, we talk about that, about a lot of times for you thinking about that line 6, the line 3 phase of your life, you don't feel like you're necessarily experimenting a lot or trying things,
Hmm.
but it doesn't have to be in the big things in life. You're
No,
just,
thinking
oh,
about it, like it's crafts. That's where I'm trying the most different things. It's
yeah,
crafts.
and that's cool.
Embroidery, crochet,
Hobbies, yeah,
watercolor.
or hobbies. I mean, running's a new thing.
Hmm.
You've
Hmm.
tried skiing now. I'm trying lots of things.
Yeah.
So thinking about purpose and life purpose, and then it happened to land on my desk the other day, my inbox, I guess, email inbox, because I was trying to think about how I came across this, but it was an email from Medium. It's a
Hmm.
writers, place where articles are
Yeah.
written and stuff.
Blog spot thing.
Something like something
I
like
think it's
that.
technically considered a blog, like
I don't know.
independent
It's
art
There's contributors.
writers.
People, yeah, people can get paid
Yeah.
to write there. You can get upvotes, downvotes, and And so I got an email about what it was on there today, and it caught my eye. One of these things about life purpose, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting," because
Hmm.
that's what we've been talking about. And it took me to an excerpt of an excerpt. It's a weird word to say, excerpt, because there's a P in there, but
I
you
thought
don't
there was a
say it.
P in there.
There is, but do you
Excerpt.
print
Excerpt.
excerpt? Doesn't sound
I
good.
think that's how I pronounce it in my head, at least.
It reminds me of that video you sent me of the British guy saying it's a Americans say squirrel, and he was like, it's a
Oh,
squirrel. The way he kept pronouncing
Squirrel.
squirrel, I'm like, what the hell? Squirrel. So excerpt. So it was about life purpose, and it was written by uh the author's name was Mark Manson, who
Hmm.
I realized was the guy who wrote the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, which, is,
Yeah, I did not know that was him. I looked it
yeah,
up
yeah,
when
which
you
makes the
told me his name.
rounds of all the, you know, kind of came out with, you are a badass and all this other stuff when it became like
Hmm.
cool to like have that in your title. And
First in your book.
cursing. So I looked at it, I read it, and then I read it, and then and it got me thinking about what we're going to talk about on this episode. And so I sent it to you, and because it was rather short, but he made some points, a lot of things I don't agree, like his overall viewpoint, I don't necessarily agree with him, but which we'll talk about here in a second. But I thought it asked some valid points, questions in here that we're going to go through
Hmm.
about like discovering your purpose. And so main thing that he says in his, so I don't think this is a separate book. I don't know. It was sent to me as like a PDF download. I joined his email list to
Yeah,
read the whole thing. So
like maybe it's just kind of some pamphlet
yeah,
that
it's
he
like a
wrote. I
book.
don't know if
It's a
it's
small,
necessarily part of his book. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a lead magnet that he wrote. So anyways, so he says that the problem here with life purpose and looking for life purpose, the concept of it is himself, of itself, not himself, is the idea, he says, these are his words, that we're each
Hmm.
born for some higher purpose and it's our mission to find it. And he doesn't agree with that. He's like, take all the pressure off. We're not all
Hmm.
cosmically here to do something, which that's my main thing I disagree with.
Yeah.
But he
I
does
mean,
make,
I understand the way he's framing it.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
he's saying it's such a big, daunting thing. Like
to
go for a
consider,
smaller thing.
to
Yeah.
tackle. Yes, exactly.
Hmm.
And he did make the good point that the fact that we can even like have this problem to ponder and consider is
Yeah.
is quite a luxury. And it is, I
Yeah.
think, was it, we talked, I don't know if we talked about last week or not, about how when they discovered Uranus and we entered this new Uranian cycle, they call it, where we now, midlife is around 42 to 50, because
Hmm.
we're just living longer.
Yeah.
And not only living longer, our quality of life in general is better. And
Hmm.
we have time. We're not out there trying to always kill our next meal
Yeah. Or
or
not
avoid
be
being
killed
killed
by that meal.
or someone else. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe, but nobody's trying to. But anyway, so that we have these luxuries of being able to consider what our purpose is and what we should be doing. And I think it's a good thing, because quite often the people that I am coming across that ask this question really is into service to the world,
Hmm.
and especially women feel that way. But anyways, he says, back to what he was saying, that the truth is that we're here. We don't know how long we're going to be here. None of us are getting out of this alive. We know that.
Hmm.
And that during that time, he very bare bones it down, but during that time, we just are here to do things. Some of them are important, some of them aren't. And the important things are what gives our life meaning and happiness. And that we should be looking towards that as purpose, right? Would you agree?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's funny how much our notes are aligning so far.
that's good. Took notes.
Yes,
So,
I have
so he
mine.
says that when people are saying, "What should I do with my life?" or "What is my purpose?" what they're actually asking is, "What can I do with my time that's important?" Which he says is a better question
Hmm.
to ask, right? And it, like you
Yeah.
said, it's more manageable, correct?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And because it does feel like big to say, "What's my purpose?" And I think so big
Yeah.
that people don't even like to say it out loud
Hmm.
because it feels
And
silly.
you've I know, and I know that you mean when you've said this to me in the nicest and most like uplifting way possible. But there's been times when you're just like looking at my design
Hmm.
and you'll just kind of like stare at it and like almost absent-mindedly you're like, man, you have so much going for you. Or you're like, I see so many big things for you. And I know you mean it in the nicest way possible, but I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand. Yeah, give it to like that's so much to consider. What if I fuck it up? What
it's
if
like
I
that's
don't
so
do it
much
right?
pressure.
What if I never figure it out?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
on that note, originally when we were talking about discussing this a little bit differently, a lot of our notes were around how we too often equate purpose with job and career.
Mm-hmm.
And which makes sense. 70% of us are generators. We're here to work and
Mm-hmm.
build. And so it does feel like our purpose
Mm-hmm.
is closely aligned with what it is we output, what it is we do. And
Mm-hmm.
there is a lot of validity to that because it is a way of contributing, right? Is what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we've lost touch with our bigger purpose because we are so busy working all the time. And when you're not working, I don't know about you, but well, you're getting better at this. You feel like you should be doing something. Your husband
Mm-hmm.
certainly falls into that like
Yes.
productivity gap.
He he said that he doesn't like to listen to any of my podcasts because we just went on a ski trip, so we were in the car for a long time.
Hmm.
And we always end up listening to like his podcasts, which I don't really care either way, but I would like to listen to my podcasts, which are pretty exclusively true crime. And I was talking to him at breakfast before we were heading home. And I was like, I would like to listen to my podcast. And he's like, if it's not providing value to me, I don't give a shit. And I was like,
Oh,
okay,
Jesus.
thank you. I know what you mean, but gosh.
Delivery can be a little bit better.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
well, who's
So
driving? You or him?
him.
All right, well, he can concentrate on the road. You put an earbud in, but you want him to listen to it with you. Do
Yeah, I
you
mean,
want him to like
because
it?
I want him to be interested in something that I like, because I show interest in things he likes. But
Yeah.
he's
Yeah, that's why he and your dad were suited to travel together because they
yes.
listened to survival stories.
Oh
And
God.
then the last trip your dad and I went on, he was like, "Oh, we should listen to these." And I was just like, I listened to one and I'm like, "I know, okay." I didn't find it that interesting. Because he's like, "Oh, you need to listen to this one." I said, "I'm not going to listen to any of them that are bear attacks or
Oh
someone had to
God.
saw their own leg off. I'm not going to listen
God.
to it. Forget about it." So, anyways, back on track. So, mean it in the nicest possible way. The big mission. Are you going to fulfill it?
What can I do with my
Okay.
time that's important?
Yeah. So, one thing that I have come to understand for myself and for others, and like you said, I can only do so much when looking at a human design chart. I can understand it, and that's my, I think, passion, calling, whatever you want to call it, is to help other people understand it so they can look at it
Hmm.
themselves. And because I mean, I've been looking at my own chart for several years now, and I'm still
Yeah.
like, especially I was talking to my friend Tora yesterday, and I was like, why is the sun gate so hard to understand? It's like it is for me, it is for everybody. It's like 70% of your expression. There's so much emphasis. And for being a 4-1 in particular, there's a lot of emphasis on that sun gate of like what you're
Hmm.
here for. And it's just like, I don't get it. I'm like, what does that mean though? Like, how does that help someone, right? So,
Yeah.
but what I was going to say is that no one else can tell you what your purpose is. Like, it's something you have to figure out for yourself. What we can
Hmm.
do is tell you where to look. I can help
Give you the
guide you
tools
there.
to, yeah.
I can, show you how to start living that might help you get there. But really, and that's it's good and it's bad. No one can tell you what your purpose is, but then no one can tell you what your purpose is. You got to figure it out.
It's like, but sometimes I kind of wish you could.
I know. But then if someone tells you, like, oh, because people used to tell me when I was younger
Uh-huh.
that, oh, you're so creative. Like, you're an artist. You're so creative. Because I dabbled. Even in high school, they wanted me to spray painted this mural on the wall. I had no fucking clue what I was doing. I'm not an artist. Like, Lakeland's an
I'm surprised
artist.
Catholic school was like, let's spray paint a mural.
Hey man, it was the 80s. They're like, we also got a new art teacher and she didn't last long. So
Oh,
probably
oh
because she
well.
let me spray paint. Everybody else was throwing pottery and I'm like, hey, let's just spray paint on it. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But so it was like kind of a lot of pressure on me because people would always tell me, oh, you're so creative, even as I got older. And I never saw it and I didn't see it. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't see myself in that light at all. But it made me feel like I had to be creative. Like I had to, equate that into work that I do. I have to have a
Mm-hmm.
creative output as far as like maybe something visual or whatever, or writing. And I'm, it, and I'm just kind of having this realization right now as we talk about it. It's like somebody else put that on me, and it might have been just an observation, but it made me feel like, well, I must not be living up to it because they think that I'm like this, but I didn't feel it,
Mm-hmm.
but I still went with it because I didn't know what it is. So,
Yeah.
good news is, I'd like to tell everybody out there
Mm-hmm.
listening that if you don't know what your purpose is or you're searching for that direction, it's not too late. You can find
It's
it.
never too late.
It's never too late. And as I've said many times before, actually, if you're under the age of 50, chances are you got plenty of time to still keep working at it. I also think purpose changes a little bit. I mean, I think there's a overarching
It has
theme,
to. It has to. Because, I mean, we
but
change. We're not the same
yeah,
now as we are 10 years from now.
yeah, we're going to have the same key components. And let's also remember, just because we have this imprint of the cosmos on us from our moment of
Oh,
birth,
love
right?
that. Love that.
Remember, it's not an absolute expression. Each gate, each thing is one. We're still moving through space. Things are still moving around us. There's transits, there's all that stuff. But, gate, let's say, oh, let me think of a gate. I can't even think of one right now. That would
How
be a
about your
good.
sun gate? Let's go there.
Well, it doesn't have good names to me. But what I was going to say is, yes, I guess I hate to admit it. There is a scale, a sliding, like not a scale, but a sliding range of expression. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like to say one is better than the other. It's not. It's just different. There's a lower or shadow side of it,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a gift, they call it, in the gene keys, or the higher expression of it. And that changes throughout your life, throughout your days, throughout your weeks, of whether you're going to
Mm-hmm.
be living a better expression. No, I want to say better. I'm trying to be careful here. It changes, right? And so
Yeah.
we're always changing. But I think if we tap into the elements that we can in the chart, which are not really going to change that much, I think, which is type and profile, and really type, strategy, authority, right? And
Mm-hmm.
profile, because those are really our key points that are going to help guide us through a lot of, well, all of life. If we can,
Mm-hmm.
just why they teach that as the basis of human
Right.
design and why
It's a
there's so much
starting point.
emphasis on it, because it anchors you into your design, really. So I said, no one else can tell you what your purpose is, but we can certainly
Mm-hmm.
help. We
Yes.
want to help. So, obviously the question is like, what is it you really want in life? Did you answer that question?
No, no, and I came to a realization when I was reading through that small ebook, whatever we want to call it,
Hmm.
that like anytime there is that question posed to me of like, well, what do you want your life to look like? Or, what do you want out of life? Like, I can never put it into words, but I have
Wait a,
this like, it's like a feeling or like a snippet, like a vision in my head, but I can never like put it into words. So then it makes it difficult to like ever explain it to
well,
anyone else.
that's but see that's how I want to say it. I want to say it should be, but really when you say what it is you want in life, yeah, you might have a vision, but it is a feeling and it really
Mm-hmm.
should be how you want to feel. Like, because a friend of mine walked me through an exercise the other day that helped me tap into just that, which was like how it felt. And for me, when she asked certain things, it was like, it feels like, feels like a full body smile. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, everything just like feels so good. And that's what you want. And what are the elements of that that help you feel that way? And so it doesn't have to be specific. It is reaching towards a feeling. So
Mm-hmm. Tell that to my logic-based husband.
listen, I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something I've learned in 30 years of marriage is that it doesn't matter what he's doing, what his game is, what he's thinking. Doesn't matter. You do you. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's doing his own kind of like personal growth work, but his is very goal oriented. But you're there to anchor him into the joie de vivre, the joy of life. So he's not always like just
Grinding.
there, you know, and and it's understandable when he's there to help
Mm-hmm.
you kind of stretch your wings and maybe think about attaining certain things you might not have done on your own, like running. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. Where'd that come from? Why do you want to run?
Well, so he's running, and of course he wants me to like the things he like, which I'm very go with the flow. I'll try it. I don't care. But I have always said like I am not a runner. But then
Hmm.
he's like looking through races to sign up for himself, and he comes across one that's a Valkyrie race, and he's like, it's like that's Valkyrie Trail Race, I think is the name of it. And he's like,
Hmm.
he says Valkyrie race, and I was like, Valkyrie, hello.
Why? Because
Well, it
why?
also I've always thought the Valkyries were like really badass, but then
What do you mean?
you don't know like the
Valkyries?
Valkyries?
Like
They're like
they're like
the
a
Norse
mythology.
mythology.
Hmm.
Yeah, the badass women warriors.
Oh, okay. They're women. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. God. Yes.
I know the classical piece of music, but Flight of the Valkyries or
But
whatever
you
that
know
is.
Thor Ragnarok,
Mm-hmm.
the girl in Thor Ragnarok, the movie,
Mm-hmm.
the Marvel movie. She's a Valkyrie. She's the last of the Valkyrie in that
Yeah.
universe.
Yeah.
But
So,
it
anyways.
also I've always thought they're cool, but then also the book series that I just finished,
Mm-hmm.
there was a Valkyrie element too. So
Mm.
it was like he found a race that I wasn't interested. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a
Yeah.
shot. It's 4 miles. I can do that. So that's
Oh
where running
God.
came from.
Okay. All right. So, anyways, back to what I was gonna say is that
Yes.
I learned through my own personal experience and journey that your dad and I are very different in a lot of ways. And I never really asked him to be a of the things I was doing. Like I kind of did, like yoga and all that
Mhm.
other stuff. But I hid a lot of it from him in the sense that I just didn't talk about it because I was like, I don't want to be made fun of.
Mhm.
And not that he would cruelly make fun of me, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of eye rolling, and I'm sure a lot of women out there listening can relate. We are attracted to these, unconventional healing modalities or mindset work or
Mhm.
whatever. And I think that's just in our collective DNA as women that we know that, we're following our intuition, we're doing all that stuff, and it doesn't always make sense. It's not easily explainable, but we feel the pull. And
Mhm.
I applaud all of you who are feeling the pull here in human design. And but over time, as I changed and grew, it has an effect and it will it'll get, there's resonance. It's like basic science, right? Like not basic
Mhm.
science, physics, is it resonance?
What's the sound? I
Entrainment,
don't know.
that all the things. It's like things have to kind of
I mean, nature wants to naturally be balanced. Is that what you're
right.
trying to go for?
Sort of. I mean, it's either a matter if my energy changes, which it did a lot, the way I did things, my vibration changed, all this stuff, it got rid of a lot of people. You know, that's a harsh way of saying it, but I'm sure a lot of people understand what I'm talking about because they didn't want to come along with me. I was
Mm-hmm.
changing and I didn't ask them to, but when I say changing things that maybe I didn't engage in before or that I was no longer going to engage in or tolerate or things like that, well, there's choice points. People can either come along for the ride and that helps raise the vibration of everyone around them, or they can leave. And we're still together. So I think by me changing myself and having a different perspective and being a little less reactive in life, it just made things better for everybody. So I'm just off
Mhm.
topic there. So we need to get back on topic. So, anyway, so what it is you really want in life, yes, it's hard to define. It's hard to say elusive. Everybody wants more money. Everybody wants to be in good health. Everybody wants to have excitement, all these things, right? It's like,
Mhm.
sure, we all want that. But
Right.
where's the uniqueness in
Yeah.
that?
It's too general. It's too broad.
Hmm. And so that's where this little exercise is going to come in with these questions that he posed, the author Mark Manson posed in his little pamphlet here. And as I
Mhm.
read these questions, I would like to clarify that these are not my words.
Mhm.
This is a guy writing his personal development book, and so I think there's just a little element of that in there of guy stuff, don't you? Like, I don't know what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. A little straight
It's a
talk.
little sharp, pointy.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. So he asks these questions. So the first one, it's probably the worst one. There's two of
Came
them.
out of the bat, like
Yeah,
swinging.
it came right out. So his first question was, what's your favorite flavor of shit sandwich and does it come with an olive?
I had to read that like 4 times. I was like, what? Like,
Yeah.
what
What?
are you? What?
Yeah. So it would so basically saying that it's not always easy,
Mhm.
but there's going to be things that you are willing to work at, right? Like
Mhm.
we're all going to have to get in the trenches. We're all going to have to like do things we don't want to do, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I think it would be a little bit of that toxic positivity to say, no, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. And I know that we talk about it a lot in this context of human design, especially for, well, anybody, but generators is the whole like, don't ignore your sacral response, right? You don't want to do it,
Mhm.
don't do it. Well, it's kind of impossible, I think,
Yeah.
in a real world. So what was your take on
What
this?
was mine? What you
Hmm.
want my answer?
Well, I mean, what did it make you think when you first heard that question, other than like, do you have to say it like that? I just can't
Well,
get past shit sandwich. I fucking
I
hate
know.
that. I hate that phrase, but whatever.
I had to go through it because he has like these big blurbs and kind of explaining his questions, but
Hmm.
not really.
Hmm.
So I like had to read through it. I was like, what is he actually trying to get me to answer here? And
Hmm.
it's like what he finally said was, it's what you will do and are kind of want to do that maybe other people don't want to do. That's how
Hmm.
I like took it as what he was trying to get at.
Well, what
Again,
I
I
what
don't know
I
if we needed shit sandwich, but
I know. Well, what I took from it was because he talked about struggling, like you said. I think you were kind of touching on that.
hmm
And so it made me, always looking at human design, I'm thinking, well, that's what gate 38 is all about is, well, the channel of 38 and 28, channel of struggle, which
hmm
38's the fighter and 28 knows what's worth fighting for. And it's It's a creative energy. It's a creative stream of energy. And the question there is always what's worth fighting for? Like, what are
Mhm.
you worth? What is something that you want to bring into this world that's worth it for you? Because it's
Mhm.
we've talked it many times about the struggle, right?
Yeah.
And how that is how you learn and grow is through some
Mhm.
sort of struggle. So,
Right.
or shit sandwich, I guess.
Yes.
And also, he talked about making mistakes, something that you're
Mhm.
willing to make mistakes at, fail, try again. And that made me think of like the whole learning process of the line 3,
Mhm.
and or even a manifesting generator, trying all these different things to see, what it is. But really, it's like, what are you willing to keep trying at, right?
Mhm.
Sort of.
Yeah, I think
So
so.
what? I didn't answer like you did.
You want
I
my
just
answer?
I just went and delivered it. Yeah. So, well, because you're still figuring
I
out.
have my handwritten notes.
Okay.
So I said, and I'm just gonna read word for word what I wrote
Okay.
down. I said,
Yeah.
planning and directing, let me create my vision and I'll show you how to do it. Call me bossy all day long.
True. Very true. I like your bossiness. You are a little bossy, but if you were a man, they would just call you like not bossy, they'd call you focused and
Yeah,
determined and a great leader.
yeah.
So, okay. So that's good. So, yeah, asking yourself that question. If you know it's not going to be easy, what is it that really makes you want to try, even
What you
though
want to do, even though it
might
may
not have the
suck.
rewards
Yeah.
right away? I like what you said, though. He said there's things that you will do that other people aren't willing to do. Helps you
Yeah.
because you just are really tied to it or interested in it, or you just want to go
Hmm.
for it. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to number 2 because there is 7.
Okay.
So, what
Yes.
is true about you today that would make your 8-year-old self cry?
This was one
And
that I couldn't answer.
so close. It's getting to be 20 years ago. Haley, you were 8 years old. Ah.
I was like,
Um,
what was 8-year-old me doing and what did I like? And I was like, I don't know. I was like,
well, you like following me around. You like being with
well, here
me.
I am. So
Here
I
you
don't
are,
think it'd make myself cry.
hanging out with your friends. How old is 8? That's like second grade. Yeah. Well, basically, the question is, and I think it's pretty clear what the question is that, you
Hmm.
know, what you love to do just because, finding joy without purpose, which is
Hmm.
really important. And he says, and I talk about this all the time, that we're taught that the only reason to do something is if we're somehow rewarded for it. The
Hmm.
transactional nature of our world kind of stifles us, make us feel lost and stuck. And it's a very interesting comment because I have started a new activity that is creative, and it's working with neurographic lines and neurographic art, and it's creating art. Now, there is kind of a purpose to it. That's why I started doing it. But I'm trying to make myself just have fun with it because that was something I used to do. I told you everybody said I was so creative, but it is
Hmm.
something I liked to do when I was young. I used to draw a lot. I used to draw people. I used to scribble. I used to do all that kind of stuff of just for the sake of drawing because nobody's
Hmm.
going to be buying my 8-year-old drawings. And I like doing that. I like that doing that a lot. Now, that's not my purpose, I don't think, but
Hmm.
it was creating for the sake of creating, let's say.
Hmm.
I also think about what I used to do when I was playing a lot of time. If I play by myself, if I was at home, I used to
Hmm.
pretend to have a restaurant. And I would be waiting. I'd go in the dining room and I'd be like waiting on customers. And then I would be ringing them up at the register, which was my blender. Not my blender, my mom's blender. And I think about that. I was like, what was I doing? Or I'd play Office, or, it was always like interesting.
Why
They
were
were
you
like
trying to
the
have a job with your imaginary play?
generator. But you know what it comes down to is service. It was about helping people. It was service. It was just, it was play with a purpose, I guess, in a way. A lot of my activities, like, or when you're playing your Barbies, it's like relationships. It was always such tragic relationships that my Barbies had. Uh, always fixing their relationships. But anyway,
Hello,
so
line 4.
but when I don't know if I was 8 years old, but I was always just kind of introspective, I would say, even as a child. But so his point here is I didn't quite work in like how this works for me in particular, but might work
Mhm.
better for other people. Of it's tapping into passion always begins with a sense of play.
Mhm.
And we don't do that. We don't just do things for the sake of it because it feels
Mhm.
good. But that's such an important element in
Yeah.
in finding, not finding, but enjoying your life. And that's been something I've
Mhm.
been definitely doing lately, is playing around with what do I enjoy doing. That's why I'm being creative and working with art supplies. It's fun. So okay. So you didn't have an answer for that one. You didn't
Mm-mm.
really have one written down.
I don't
Okay.
know what
No
I did
problem.
or liked as a child.
Yeah. You liked bossing your brother around. You were good at that. You're a good little helper. You loved your animals. So, you were with me a lot. You liked your friends. Yeah. So I don't know. You did a lot of, I mean, you were a pretty normal kid. You liked crafts then too. But anyway, so, okay, here's the other one that's phrased question that I wouldn't necessarily put it this way. But I'm just going to say it the way he says it. He says,
Mhm.
what makes you forget to eat and poop? So I
That
like
one.
his analogy. I like his story he told here, though, that
Mhm.
says, he talks about that he loved gaming, like playing video games. He would
Yeah.
spend hours doing it.
Mhm.
And I hear that a lot from people. I hear it from your brother, for, he likes to game. What do you like to do? Well,
Mhm.
I like playing video games. Does that mean
Mhm.
you're supposed to be doing that for a job? Chances are no.
Mhm.
But he said when he stopped playing video games, he realized that it was not so much the gaming, it was he loved the aspect of when you game, you're improving his score,
Mhm.
improving his skills,
Leveling up, that kind of thing.
leveling up. Yeah. And I thought that was interesting. So then he decided, well, if that's what I really like to do is improve, he then applied that to other things in his life, like his own personal
Mhm.
development and his writing, because he was a writer. That was the thing he liked to do as a kid, was write.
Mhm.
And he
Yeah.
stopped writing because he figured nobody cared and
Mhm.
didn't want to hear what he had to say. Anybody raise your hand in the room? Everybody feels that way. So what'd you have?
Yeah. Okay. So I just said solving a problem, rooting out
Mm-hmm.
an issue, make the
Mm-hmm.
puzzle come together.
Say puzzle. Yeah, you'll sit there with a puzzle for
Because
sure.
it's really like it's like putting the pieces together, or it's like with my job is when I've kind of noticed this is
Mm-hmm.
when I find the most like what I like what I'm actually doing at work is when I am trying to like solve a problem on an Excel file or figure out like why do we have this discrepancy. So it's like I like to figure out the pieces and then make them right and make them look good.
Hmm. Organizing things and putting all the pieces together, and
That's when
yeah.
I get like real focused.
And it's like, I think that's an aspect, the line 6, and other things also in your design, but being able to see systems and understand where the pieces go, like you said, comes easier to some than others. And I've seen you work a puzzle too, for sure.
Mm.
And I think for myself, I can get zero focused in on, well, I guess creating things, whether I'm working on something on the computer, uh, researching stuff is bad because I can like get focused. Doing these art projects I'm doing, I realize it's been like 2 hours and I'm like, why am I still, I'm still doing this? And so I can get kind of lost in things like that. Trying to think, yeah, gosh, maybe I should be doing something more creative. I think about when I was making jewelry and all this other stuff. I didn't want to take a break, whether that's for a passion or if it's like ADD, I don't know, where they just like hyper focus on things.
Mhm.
But yeah, so well, he says maybe it's organizing or getting lost in a fantasy world or teaching something. Yeah, I can do that. Solving problems, sure. So I would say one thing that stood out here for me about this in human design is to look at your profile and how you do things and why.
Mhm.
Because again, I was thinking, well, that researcher part of me, that foundational of wanting to understand things, like I will sit with something for a long time to
Mhm.
try and figure it out. Staring at human design, studying charts, like I will do that forever, for sure.
Mhm.
For sure. So, okay, well, let's move on to the next one.
Okay.
How can you better embarrass yourself? This one was
This was the other
interesting.
one I
Yeah.
didn't have an answer to.
Well, I do. So he says that it comes back to being vulnerable. And I really highlighted this whole piece of text because I thought it was really cool because this is very
Oh,
relevant.
okay.
Where he says, right now, there's something you want to do, something you think about doing, something you fantasize about doing, yet you don't do it. You have your reasons, no doubt. And you repeat these reasons to yourself ad infinitum. Let's say ad nauseum. But what are those reasons? And he says, but I can tell you right now that if those reasons are based on what others think, then you're screwing yourself over big time. And he says, goes on to say, great things are by their very nature unique and unconventional. Therefore, to achieve them, we must go against the herd mentality and do what is scary. And so when I thought about that, I mean, there's still currently things in life, there's things I have in mind right now that I'm
Mhm.
not ready yet that fall into this.
Mhm.
But this very podcast, I realized, is one of those things. And it is part of that bigger picture because this was, in a way, how I felt like I was going to embarrass myself.
Mhm.
And I feel like still on a weekly basis, I do at some point when I have to go back and edit. I'm like, why do you laugh like that? Why did you say that? What are you doing? Why don't you shut up? Like, the voice is mean. It's mean,
Mhm.
but I'm willing to keep doing it. Maybe it's, I wouldn't call this a shit sandwich, but I am willing to embarrass myself in the sense of just like put myself out there
Mhm.
because it's been something inside that wanted to come out. And it's scary to do the things that are pushing you like that, and then I remember, so what's the worst thing? I'm not going to die. Nobody ever died by starting a
Mhm.
podcast, I
Yeah.
hope.
My like favorite thing with that specifically that statement of what's the worst that could happen is I don't know if you told me, someone else told me, I read it somewhere, but they
Hmm.
were saying like instead of looking at it, what's the worst that could happen? What's the best
Hmm.
that could happen?
Yeah,
And so
we
like
did.
I try to remember myself because I'm like, what's the best that could happen?
And it's so much easier to think about what's the worst that could happen instead of what's the
Hmm.
best that could happen.
Yeah,
But
because
when I,
yeah.
yeah, when I read this passage, when he says, great things by their very nature unique and unconventional, that we have to go against the herd and do what's scary, because this is most often what comes up in readings with people, or
Mm.
wanting to, even if it's not a paid reading, I just start talking to someone and I can hear it. It's like there's something they want but they're afraid. And that's where I'm usually like, so do I have your chart, or are you willing to like give me your birth details, because we're going to look at this right now.
We're gonna get to
because
the bottom of this.
because I know I can tell you that, like,
Hmm.
what's on your heart. I say it all the time to people. Whatever it is on your heart is there for a reason. It's there for you, and it feels so scary because it is so important to you, and it is so like part of who you are. And it's like having to show that to the world is really scary. But then it's also
Hmm.
like, will you be fulfilled? Will you be happy if you don't do it? Like, I'm so
Yeah.
happy we started to do this podcast and it's had great things come from it. And it really got me to that point where I was like, I can't not, I have to do this. It's
Hmm.
like, it's too strong of a pull to like, what a silly thing, a podcast. It's not Pulitzer Prize winning. It's not gonna, it's not that big of a deal, but it feels big when it's yours. So you didn't. So you said you didn't really have anything.
No, I
That's
didn't have
okay
an answer for
because
this
I
one.
didn't particularly answer any of these myself. I just decided to ask the questions.
Well, someone gave me a question. I was like, okay, I'll answer
Yeah,
it.
it's true. You're like, hey, it's just
Open-ended questions.
yeah,
They're not yes
yeah.
and no for you, so you're like, meh.
I know. I'm like, I don't know. Okay, I like this next one.
Mhm.
How are you going to save the world? And he just basically says, find a problem you care about and start solving it. I look at that also as something you can also look at in your chart because you can look at, well, it's a key element in the chart. We all have gate 50, whether it's active or not, but that's all about
Mhm.
your values and what you do value. But also your Venus placement Venus is about values. And so that's somewhere you can look. But how are you going to save the world, Haley?
Okay, so I said protect the environment, the oceans, the animals. That was my answer.
Hmm. Well, you did love, you know what? You loved all those things when you were 8 years old, too.
Yeah.
I think you were on the beach probably your whole life.
Yeah, if
Oh,
I was 8 years old, I was probably on the beach.
yeah. Yeah. Well, how am I going to save the world? Well, I hope to just help make, well, there's lots of different things. I hope to make it a better place, but I hope to really empower legions of other people that also are going out into the world and want to use their own unique ways of helping, make the world a better place by helping people be happier. And I also hope, starting with myself, to create abundance in my life, wealth, so that I can then spread that out in a way too and contribute to other people who are also doing good things in the world. And just because, I mean, I'm sorry, if everybody is like feeling good, they've got food on the table, they've got free time, imagine a world where we're all worried
Oh,
about like putting a roof over our heads and what we're going to eat and if we get sick, if we can afford to like get better. But we might not be even sick as much if we didn't have to work so fucking much and we had
we have
better
better
food to
food
eat.
systems. Yeah. God,
Oh,
what a
shake it.
world.
That gets me a little fired up. Sorry. So I definitely have my inner like social warrior of like wanting to make big change in this world, but I don't, it's not me, I know, to run those causes. Having been on
Mhm.
presidential campaign and seen it, and I'm like, yeah, this isn't me that's going to do this, but I fully will support other people doing it. But
Mhm.
my contribution would be helping people understand what their paths are so they can go out and change the world as well. So, okay, next one. There's two more. This is an
Yes.
interesting one. I
Mhm.
misunderstood this question, to tell you the
Oh,
truth.
okay. I want to
Silly,
know
but I did.
how you understood it after you read it.
Okay. So this question says, gun to your head. If you had to leave the house all day, every day, where would you go and what would you do?
How
So
did you
my
understand it?
when I first read it, I'm like, I was thinking it was like one thing, like what would you do all day if you weren't here? And then I read further and he's like, no, all the things that you would be doing. I'm like, oh, okay.
Just everything you would do.
Yeah, discovering what you're passionate about, meaning trial and error. Again, there's a lot of that in the chart. There's
Very
the
line 3 here.
very line 3, very manifesting generator. Try all the things. Very much sacred. What are you responding to? What do you want to be invited into as a projector? All those things. What do you want to initiate? What do you want to do? Right? You've got to like
Mhm.
get off your couch and go do it. And this is where I can be guilty of always in my head. Obviously, when I read these questions, I did them all in my head. I didn't write them, but not getting into action, But he's
Mhm.
saying that you've got to just go out and try things, right? That's what you're doing, I
Yeah.
think. And there are some of us out there that someone may have to put a gun to our head and force us to leave the house.
Yes.
So what'd you say?
I said, uh, go explore. I
Mm-hmm.
did say join a book club, and then I said planning and organizing events, and then I had
Mm-hmm.
community in parentheses, like
Mm-hmm.
things for the community. I think was where I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would definitely, well, I wouldn't have a problem. I'd Go find a good meal. We'd be traveling,
Well, that's a given.
enjoying nature, and I try to do that. Get out at least once a day, and look up instead of always looking down. But and I think that just goes. I mean, finding what you're passionate about, sure, trying things, but also I think it's appreciating, finding the things that you appreciate. Also, I think that are right in front of you. Sometimes you don't necessarily see it, but
Mhm.
basically saying, how would you occupy yourself if you weren't in the safety of your house all the time? You had to go and explore the world.
Yeah.
Where would you go and what would you do? So I like that you said
Mhm.
book club because I've been thinking about starting a book club.
Ooh,
I've been
but
thinking about
I
it,
don't
whether it would
want to
be.
be in a nonfiction book club.
Well, I thought about that too. It's like, yeah, we'll bang that idea around a little bit. Okay, last question.
Hell
It's
yeah.
a heavy one. If you knew you were going to
Yes.
die 1 year from today, what would you do and how would you want to be remembered? And as we said, none of us are getting out of here alive. And when you think about,
Hmm.
I mean, what is it that brings people into these moments of evaluating their lives? A lot of time is either a health crisis or someone they know health crisis, but
Hmm.
contemplating your own, like, oh, there's an expiration date.
Yeah.
We don't know what it is, right? Or when it
Hmm.
is. Yeah. It's how would you want to
This
be remembered?
this question, when I first read it, like in the moment when I was doing it, it like, somehow did give me a ton of clarity.
Oh,
Like I
yeah.
actually came up with something and I was like, holy shit, this is what I've been like kind
Oh.
of I could feel, but
Uh-huh.
like I could never kind of like get it out.
Mm-hmm. So
I don't know. It provided me some clarity.
would you?
So my answer, I said
Yes.
create a community for people like me. Everyone, and I had to put it in who is nice, is welcome. We I literally have like a little thing where I just had to place it
Who's
in.
nice? Everyone's who nice. Who's
Yeah,
nice?
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they'd be people like me, so it would be. And then I said we do events and hang out, do things that bring joy, no rhyme or reason, just joy.
Aw. I'm nice. I want to be there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, we're kind of a
Say that
given.
again. Wait, say that again. Say that again.
Okay, so it was create a community for people like me. Everyone who is nice is welcome. We do events and hang out, do things that bring joy, no rhyme or reason, just joy.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. And the best part is your questioning mind has all the questions like, well, how can we do that? And they say, your Incarnation Cross in particular, good at long range planning in groups.
Oh,
Ooh, yeah.
yeah.
I feel that when we get together in April, we have to I was thinking about the day when we see each other, we're gonna see each other in a couple weeks. We have a day together, we get to see each other, and it could be our 1 day retreat.
I
Where
had the
we
exact same thought.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Okay, we gotta find somewhere fabulous to hang out in
Okay.
Charleston. Okay. Yeah, so unfortunately I've had this experience a lot, and I kind of kick myself a little bit sometimes that I'm not there yet, but I also have to give myself grace because you have to go through what you go through in order to know what it is that you really feel. We've asked these
Hmm.
questions and looking at it in that regard of your whole life. And so it was when my mother died. I mean, even then, this was 2012. I remember, I remember when she died. Obviously, I was there, but she was in
Hmm.
hospice. And at the time, right before she actually started to actually die in that moment, I was doing some writing exercises around what my strengths were, what my purpose was,
Hmm.
like what I bring to the table. And so at the time I was 40, 41, and was really wanting to explore. I mean, this has been going on for some time. And she ended up dying that day. And through that grief process, I was like, right after it happened, because she died too young. She was only 69. She died of cancer. She had just, had been starting to live her life on her terms in the last 6 or 7 years of her life, found the love of her life.
Hmm.
Like everything was great. And then she was stricken with cancer and 2 years later, she's dead. And I was like, I am not gonna waste my life. I'm gonna figure this out soon. Not that she wasted her life, but you know what I mean. There was an
Mhm.
expiration date. Like I realized, oh my God, because I never in a million years thought my mom would die that young. Like
Mhm.
never. Because she's tough, you know.
Mhm.
She, you know, determined. And I thought I'm not gonna waste any time. And a lot of that has been hanging over me, even some because I hadn't quite done the thing I think I'm supposed to be doing. But I realize now I'm like, I was doing what I was meant to do. Even though I wasn't doing it as a job, I was
Mhm.
I was helping uh I was raising a family. I was like empowering those around me. I was pouring all the support and everything that I was learning into my, as a 4-1, into my community, into those people I love and I
Mhm.
care about. And so I was still living my purpose, which was to be this person that learns what she learns and then shares it with others. And for me, it's in that direction of living your life on your terms as you want to do it. And if you do, the return comes back to you. You never work a day in your life. You're a happy person, right?
Mhm.
I just haven't equated that to the job until recently of like, because I was just, you know, contributing in other ways to other people and helping
Mhm.
them in their dreams. But so going forward, I think, how do I want to be remembered? Well, is like what I've already done, but also another exercise with my friend was like how I want people to feel around me, how I want people to like fucking go out in the world and, like I just said, live life on their terms and, you know, live a good life. Like, and I want to be someone that
Mhm.
helps them do that. So I hope I can do that. So, anyways, so after you look at those questions and,
Mhm.
you know, have fun with them or whatever, think about those things, but then look at your design. If you know your design, most importantly, what's going to help you figure out those questions, as we kind of touched on earlier. You don't have to know every part of your design. If you want help going through it, obviously I can help you, but I can help you, you know, some of the finer details there.
Yeah.
But if you know your type and your strategy and your authority, great place to start. Because, like you just said, that bit of information has helped you a lot in understanding yourself, myself as well, of
Yeah.
that's really tied to your purpose. Are you here to initiate? Are you here to build? Are you here to guide? Are you here to
Mhm.
reflect? You know, so that's a really important thing to know what your role is, right?
Yeah. Pressy. So the other day, this is related, I swear. The other day, Pressy was like trying to figure out if he could, like, time wise and his training wise, these couple longer races, running races that he wanted to. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of like helping him. I was like talking through it with him and everything. And then
Mm-hmm.
I got up and I think I started to make dinner or something. He's like, I really appreciate your guidance on this. He's like, that's something I
Oh,
really appreciate from you. And I was like, oh my God,
oh,
that's why I'm here.
oh, that's so sweet.
I was like, oh my God, that's me. I'm a projector. That's me.
maybe, maybe we know words are your love language when people say things. You mean it because that's he doesn't dole out the praise that much, does it? Not like he's
No,
a bad person. He's a
no.
wonderful person, but men in general, you know, or in couples, you guys have
Mhm.
known each other what 7, 8 years now or something like that.
We're into our ninth year.
Yeah, we get comfortable, obviously.
Mhm.
So it's nice that he actually like told you that. That was really sweet.
Yeah, it was.
um, so again, so looking at your type and then also considering your profile, as we just said, are you someone who's here to investigate and then try it? I mean, those are your 1 3s. Are you here to guide as far as, you know, you're a projector, but also being that 6 2, you know, you're the role model. You're going to have this ongoing look at life that is trying and seeing. But are you a line 2? Are you someone who's just naturally uh, maybe gifted at something, not in a output way, but your way of learning, you're just kind of natural at it, and also making sure that as you're on this quest or whatever you want to call it, if you're
Mhm.
still trying to figure it out, that you're taking that time as the line 2 to hermit. As we said, the line 3,
Mhm.
you're trialing, you're experimenting. If you're a line 4, you're going to be, what are you often bringing to your community, or what is your community bringing to you? The line 5, what do people
Mhm.
say that you can help them with? What are you here to universalize? And I think we already touched on the
Mhm.
line 6. So digging into the profile, I think, really helps you understand, because I think, for you,
Mhm.
even though it feels complicated at times, that line 6, does it also kind of help to know that you're going to like grow into something? It's like you
It
don't have
it
to
it
have it
is like
all
you said,
right
it's
now.
complicated. Yeah, it's feels like I need to be making sure that things are in place now to
Mhm.
get to that role model kind
Mhm.
of phase later in life.
Mhm. Yeah, but it's all the elements that you have now, everything you're trying, what you're going to do in the next phase of life. It'll all come to. I don't think any line 6 has not shown up later on in life and not showing who they really are. And for me and my profile, it's really helped me lean into this work here of knowing I can go deep, and I love to go deep, and I really find myself wanting to share it with everybody. This is like
Mhm.
spot on of helping me see that I'm on track with what I'm here to do, because it's helping see all the things, that thread in life of what I've been interested, which is my being, other people's being, like humanness, what makes us tick.
Mhm.
Like, oh my God, I could just die when I found that there was something that could help me see what makes everybody tick. I love it. um, and then also, I mean, we've done a episode, I think it's like 52, because it gets looked at a lot and brought up a lot about planetary placements, finding your purpose and everything.
Mhm.
But also in this context, looking at your incarnation cross and just those top 4 gates on both sides, your sun and earth
Mhm.
placements really can also help you see what the energy is you're bringing, and what is people experience from you, can really help us as well, looking at those things. But
Mhm.
really, if you just start this journey, if you're just kind of starting, or maybe you've been on this path but you're like stuck or confused, just
Mhm.
really lean into those aspects of yourself, of your profile, your type, your strategy, and your incarnation cross. So there you go. Would just like to say, ending on a note there, of that you should have a lot of compassion for yourself. Don't beat yourself up
Mhm.
if you don't get it figured out in the next 30 days, or,
Mhm.
you know, 3 years. Like, it will come. But
Mhm.
just, being aware and continually asking yourself these questions, or just being observant and seeing out throughout your day what it is you do, what catches your interest, what makes you feel really good, what do people tell you about yourself. And again, take it with a grain of salt.
Yep.
Just not everybody's gonna be a
I
painter.
will
So
say though, I will say
yeah.
though, I really value when
Hmm.
you give me insight into me because I suck at that. So like
Oh.
I really value what you have to say about me. And if it doesn't resonate, I'm like, me. But so that's
Gives
my
you
little
something to
thing
think
over there.
about. Give you a little nugget to think
Yeah.
about. So, all right, let's wrap this up with
Okay.
our wrap up segment of the podcast, which is
The Incarnation Cross of the Week.
every time we do that, I hear like the air horn.
Maybe
Okay.
that's what I'm trying to imitate.
Doing a spot on job. It comes to mind every time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So this week we have the right angle cross of the Maya 3.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we haven't done a single variation of this one.
No. So it's gate on the personality side, the conscious side, it's in the sun is gate 32, which is continuity. 42 is in the earth placement of growth. 42. And then
Okay.
on the design side, the unconscious side, and the sun is gate 62, which is details. And 61 is mystery.
Continuity, growth, details, and mystery.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see where this
So we
one
think,
goes.
yeah. So 32 is in the spleen, 42 is in the sacral, 62 is in the ajna, 61 is in the head. Okay. All right. Here we go.
See
You
where this
ready?
goes. Hit me.
Ready? All right. So if here we go. So if you were born under the right angle cross of the Maya 3, your purpose lies in recognizing your purpose lies in recognizing and nurturing the value of both personal and material resources. It's about understanding their significance and utilizing them strategically for growth and sustainability. You are on a path of exploration and education, teaching the importance of aligning actions with the right timing to bring your visions to life. Your role involves careful planning and preparation, setting the stage for future successes. By guiding others to be ready for upcoming opportunities, you align with a vision that transcends immediate gains, focusing on long-term fulfillment. You understand that to bring ideas into reality, you should act as though they are already unfolding, meticulously preparing for when the time is right.
Ooh, I like
The
it.
Maya. Yeah.
Oh.
So that's it. So 100, baby.
Woo!
100 episodes. Here we go. It's yeah. I
I think
will.
that was a really great. It was a really great 100th episode.
Oh, thanks. I think you're great. I'm so glad you're here right along with me. Couldn't do it without you. I mean, it would be the same without you. Definitely bring your flair. You genuinely make me laugh a lot of times. Like your perspective. So, and I like how you've, really I do like I like the it's not like I'm saying I do like you. No, it's I think helped me even more see how your brain works sometimes and how you think and how, the questions and the understanding you have of things and everything. It makes me see things differently sometimes. So I appreciate it. So glad you're here. So
Thanks.
we will keep coming back and embarrassing ourselves and showing
Yeah, we
up
just want to
and
have fun.
doing the thing, having the fun. And yeah, so I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Appreciate everybody listening. And if you've just found us, welcome to our crazy little part of the world. And if you've been along for the ride, we're really happy you're here. And Haley wants to build this community where everybody that's nice can come and do things just for fun. So we're going to work on that.
Yeah. Just joy.
Sounds good. All right. Well, until next time, I love you, Haley. Love everybody out there. And
Yeah.
we'll catch you the next time. Bye for now.
Bye.
You made it all the way to the end of today's episode, so you must have liked what you heard. If you did, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and perhaps leave us a good review. And if you know someone who wants to dig into all things human design with us, make sure you share the Human Design Hive podcast with them. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.